Good evening. On behalf of the Ministers Community Partnership, I wish to thank you and the whole commission for allowing us to continue to participate and partner with you all. It's an honor. Thank you. Let us join our hearts in prayer. God, sometimes when we come to you in prayer, it feels like we're fulfilling an obligation or offering some gesture, some custom to carry on. But we know that's not right. We know that our hearts have to be in it. We know that we shouldn't only come to you when there's danger afoot or problems to solve or other things happening in our midst, but that we just need to come to you on a constant basis for our personal lives, our community life, and to remember these leaders of our community, not only on a meeting night, but every day of their lives and ours. We need not tell you what we need. You know it all too well. We do not need to tell you what we fear. You know it. Nothing is hidden from you. Not the secret sins of our hearts or the dark corners of our minds, our blind ambitions. You know when we place partisan interest above the common good. You know when we lack integrity. You know when we're being selfish and when we are working for the common good. And there's profound good in this community, and we give you thanks for it. There are hopeful signs on the horizon, and we're grateful. Many people are working diligently to foster kindness, unity, hope, and cooperation, and we're grateful. And we pray that you will multiply the numbers of those who will work for the good and the flourishing of all of our citizens. But we also know that you know there are tensions, there are problems to be solved. There's finger pointing and blame shifting and scheming and everything that we find everywhere else in life. But this does not come from you. We won't try to hide it from you because you see and you know. But you're rich in love and grace, and you delight in bringing beauty out of brokenness. And so tonight we trust in your unfailing goodness to guide this commission forward, to guide our community forward with wisdom, compassion, integrity, and decisions that honor you and honor all of our neighbors. So where our eyes are blinded, give us sight. Where our conscience needs searing, brand it with a hot iron, cut through it with the sharp two-edged sword of your word. Humble us and forgive us. Challenge us, inspire us, redirect us. Give us faith and courage to chart a new course that will bring health and life to all. And we know that won't be simple, so these commissioners need your wisdom. We know it won't be easy, so they need your strength. And it won't come quickly, and so they will need endurance. Grant these and other good gifts to our leaders. Do all of this, O Lord. Birth a new spirit of trust in our midst, yes, so that days will come when we will walk these streets, enter these buildings, and leave them with courage and purpose, knowing that you're with us, working for the good of all, and finding joy in the work that we do together. In your most holy name, I offer this prayer. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I would just like to take this time as well to say Happy New Year to a new year. I know 2024 has some trying times, some issues and concerns, and my hope is that in 25 that we can come to a place where we can find some solutions and some answers to our questions. But right now we're gonna reorganization of the board. We're gonna elect election of our vice chair. So I'm gonna open the floor for any nomination.
Nomination Bill Kennedy.
Nominate Yolanda Finster.
So we got two motions on the floor, nomination on the floor. So those in favor of Yolanda Feaster, say aye.
Aye.
I think we
Leo
said,
already seconded. We tabled it from
you
last
tabled
week,
from last.
so
Okay.
Tyler didn't really need to do anything, so that was
Okay.
already on the floor. What's going on?
So we open, it didn't pass from last time, so we just open it back up to the floor for nomination. And so we had two motions on the floor, so,
You didn't have a second, two motions on the floor, I don't think. Did you have a second?
Yes, well, I seconded,
Seconded.
I seconded.
Leo,
No,
She seconded.
on Leo,
Leo.
you,
No one.
you motioned Leo
right?
and it was seconded at the last
Before anybody
meeting.
could say anything.
And then we moved to
He never
table.
said anything.
I was gonna second my own motion, y'all, next thing she said something.
okay, is there a second?
I second that,
Go
his
back.
motion.
Second, all in favor? All in favor? All
All in favor,
opposed?
which one are you
All-
voting, what are you voting on?
We on you, Mr.
Voting on me?
Yes,
Okay,
all in favor, say aye.
aye.
All opposed? Aye.
We're just voting for.
Now we vote,
You vote for Leo or you vote for Yolanda?
yes. So, now, our second motion for Yolanda Feaster. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Opposed.
So the ayes have it. Ms. Feaster is the vice chair. So now we're getting ready to, go into our public comments. As you come forward, please, state your name and address, and you have 4 minutes. Our first one is Grace Ministry, Bobby West.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Bobby West with Grace Ministries. I'm here tonight, seeking possibly getting funding. We do a faith-based recovery ministry. We've been established since 2017. We have literally probably had thousands of people to come through our doors over the years and probably had hundreds to get their life straight and get out of addiction and stuff like that. But, we are seeking, like I said, funding, 'cause like I said, we do a lot in the community and stuff like that. Right now, we probably have like 16 members in our church that used to be in active addiction and stuff like that, used to be in the court system, jails, prisons, hospitals, court, whatever it can be. But now they are living a positive life, drug-free, and good jobs, good paying income, good influence in the communities and stuff. But one of our members got hooked on drugs. She was a registered nurse and she ended up losing her nursing license. And she's been in recovery about 2 years now, and she leads a GED program that we do. And we just had 7 to graduate, and of them 7, 3 of them has gone on to Vance to pursue nursing degrees and stuff like that. But she's currently got 27 in the class. Of those 27, 8 of them is in active recovery. And so if they can better themselves, better job, better education, or whatever it may be, then they might not be dependent on falling back into drugs and stuff like that. Also, we got a new ministry. It's called New Beginning, which we do. And what we do, it started in late 2023. And since 2023, we have sent 85 people somewhere to get recovery, not just a day or two. We try to send them from 30 to 90 days, and some of them is for a year or more. And it's like I said, since 2023, we sent 85 people. Of the 85 people, 15 of them is still in a long-term recovery center, which is for a year or more. All right. And also, we've had quite a few people to graduate to 30 to 90-day programs. The reason we're seeking some of the funding, some of these places require administration fee to admit people. Sometimes it's as much as $600. We try to focus on faith-based centers to send people because over time it's been proven that faith-based organizations work and have a higher number of success. But then some places don't charge stuff, and we had to send them out of state and stuff. So we also purchase bus tickets and stuff for them. And that's part of the cost of New Beginning, to assist them in getting the help somewhere that they need and getting them there. But also, a lot of people, it's not just the addict that's that struggles with addiction. The family goes through it too. It's sad to say, I had a person tell me one time that the children was on drugs and stuff, and they said they was ashamed to say it. They said, but they almost wanted to get that dreaded phone call that their child is dead because they had put them through so much emotional hell, dealing with the drug addiction and stuff like that. But right now, we currently run a Tuesday night ministry. We're running between 50 to 70 people every Tuesday night that's coming to try and, like all of them is not addiction or recovery. Some of them is supporters. But our goal is maybe starting in early February, we want to try to start cooking a meal every Tuesday night. And with this being said, that naturally we anticipate our attendance to go over 100 plus a night. And so then, but with growth, there comes cost. And that's what we're seeking the funding for, possibly to help purchase a good used van or something to
So
get
Ms.
people
West,
back and
Are
forth.
you the pastor?
I'm the assistant director.
Okay,
Assistant director.
so thank you so much.
I got some papers I'll leave with
Okay,
y'all.
yes,
Y'all
sir.
can look through later, but, like I said, in order to feed, say 100 people 4 times a week, getting them back and forth to the meetings, sending them to wherever we can to help them get the help they need. And then also when they get out of the, recovery centers, we try to help them find housing if possible in a group home or help them maybe possibly get a job or whatever we can possibly do for them. But,
I'd like to thank you, Mr. West, for the 4 minutes that.
oh,
that
it's
you gave
already
us.
up?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
I
sir.
thought it was the last phone. I'm so sorry.
Yes, sir, so please
I
pass.
think to say it kind of fly up here, but I'm gonna leave y'all some
Thank
information
you so much.
for y'all to give you a more detail of what we do.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much. Kim Weaver.
Good evening. My name is Kim Weaver. I'm here representing my son who owns property at 20 Sharon Lane at Abbott's Crossing. I attended last month's meeting to bring back attention to the Abbott Crossing development and the failing roads. I addressed the legally recorded documents, including the site plans, the plat maps, the deeds, subdivision regulations, and the absence of road maintenance agreements. I addressed the failure of the developer to perform the duties in applying with the State Department of Transportation and the failure of the county officials to enforce the Vance County subdivision regulations, all of which have led to the current condition of these roads. So I'm here tonight to finish up and bring attention to the more personal side. This is my mother, Jane Tillotson. She's 88 years old. She lived at 20 Sharon Lane for several years until about a year ago. After my dad and brother passed, she lived there alone. One day she fell. She called 911 for assistance. When the EMTs arrived, they were unable to cross the intersection and had to jump over a ditch from the side of the home to get to my mom. Thankfully, she didn't need to be transported, and the EMTs commented that they didn't think they could have gotten her over the ditch. And there was another time when before my dad passed away, when he became ill and 911 was called. And that time a fire truck came out and could not access the home from the Abbott Crossing Road either. Essentially, many of the residents in this community are being cut off from emergency assistance while they are at their own homes. And the handout provided pictures of the intersection of Abbott Crossing and Sharon Lane, as well as an excerpt of meeting notes from April 2023, referencing the Vance County subdivision regulations, a copy of the Vance County subdivision policy, which was adopted in July of 2004, the original deed of this particular property that was recorded after those were adopted in September of '04, and the DOT recommendations of repair. The pictures you provided were taken just over a month ago, and you can see that a standard size vehicle can barely drive over that intersection, and any larger vehicles such as an ambulance or fire truck could not make that turn. The cost to repair these streets is not within the residents' financial reach, and even if it were, there is no agreement in place to enforce all the homeowners to share in this cost. The immediate repair in Abbott Crossing the immediate repair in Abbott Crossing is at the intersection of Abbott Crossing Lane and Sharon Lane. I've emailed all the county commissioners at least twice to request assistance in finding a solution and to inform you of the risk and inevitable tragedy that is bound to happen when a fire truck cannot reach a burning home or an ambulance cannot reach someone in distress, a child rides their bike around that corner a little too fast, or a school bus driver just doesn't notice until it's too late. I understand that Warren County Commissioners were able to figure out a way to repair their orphan roads, and I'm hopeful Vance County Commissioners can do the same. And while we realize it may take a minute or two to devise a plan to make all the repairs needed, I hope the county will address the immediate concern at the intersection of Sharon Lane and Abbott Crossing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weaver. Next is Dottie Crocker.
I come not to complain, but tell you that I was here and spoke on taxes, mine of which I'm still not happy with, but they've been paid. And when I paid them, of course, it was at the wrong time, but I wrote a 4-page letter and received a response. It's the first response I have received from anybody that I have asked a question to. So I commend her for answering my letter, because I went back to the year 1916 and started and came forward. And to think of the taxes that my family has paid since that year and before. I didn't have records before that year. And then to look at what I paid our county this year or last year, 2024, is totally and completely ridiculous. And I will address it when, at the proper time or whenever it is. But tonight I wanted to say thank you for the response from the lady that responded to me, but it still didn't answer my questions. It told me what is, but it didn't tell me what should be, because there's monies I understand that are allocated for renovation of this room or whatever I read today. There's money in some bank, someplace, a huge amount of money I've heard about. And so why me? Why the other people? I know I'm not alone in this. And so if it's across the county, what is wrong? What have we done wrong to deserve such a devastating increase in our taxes? Yes, I won't whine about being a senior and a widow and on my own and doing it, but I paid the taxes and I got a response to my 4-page letter, handwritten on composition, and my words were, "This is the most unprofessional letter I have ever written," the letter I wrote and left in the tax office. But I felt because I had been handled so unprofessionally, it would be better understood in that manner. And obviously it was, because I got a response. But I'm not through. You're wanting me not to live here. You are truly wanting me not to live here. The people of control that are in charge of reevaluations, they want me to leave because I can afford to have my home and my land. They don't want me. If I couldn't pay for it, they'd want me because they'd build me a house to live in. If I couldn't afford to live, they'd build me a house to live in, and I wouldn't have to pay taxes. But I appreciate that I am gifted enough to see for myself. And I have paid those taxes. And I appreciate the response, but I didn't get the answers. Thank you.
Lee Chandler.
Good evening.
Do want a little clarification though on my time. According to your agenda, I get 5 minutes. Excuse me. According to your agenda, I get 5 minutes. Just want to show that to everybody.
It's determined by how many people we have on.
Yes, ma'am, but that doesn't say that here. Lee Chandler, 4568 Hicksboro Road, District 1. Come off, Ms. Crocker. My family has lived in the same place again for 200 since 1765. $25 million, $776,920.74. Surplus. Surplus. I just want to remind you, y'all raised my taxes. My taxes double, over double. I have the first receipt, 1881. My family paid in this county. Want to move on a little bit. Last month's meeting, you all voted to give the hardworking employees of Vance County a $1,000 one-time bonus. I applaud you for that. $500 to every part-time employee. I applaud you for that. Hardworking employees of Vance County deserve it. But my question is, did y'all receive it? Did y'all receive it? I know you did. According to Ms. Perry, y'all received the $1,000 bonus. I implore you tonight to write that check back to Vance County. I sure do. I implore you and I challenge you all, pay that money back. You already got a 7% increase last June, July. Then you give yourselves a $1,000 bonus because you got $25 million of our money. $25 million. Got another challenge for you. Each commissioner is paid $14,829 plus the $1,000 bonus. That's $15,829. Divide that by 12 months. That's $1,319 a month. Divide that by 4 hours a month. That's $329.77 an hour. But my challenge is, and I know y'all work more than that. I know you do. I get that. My challenge is for y'all to email me, how many hours on average do you work for Vance County? Can I get that? All y'all got my email? I'll be glad to have that. But if not, I see it that you make $329 an hour. That's a lot. According to Ms. Perry, Vance County has 96 total vacancies in employment. 96. Of those 96, 41 are what I would consider essential. 2 from law enforcement, 22 from the detention center, 10 from EMS, and 7 from fire. That leaves 55 employees that has not been filled in Vance County. The county does not stop because of those 55 people. Do you really need them? Do we really need to fund them? $25 million? Do we really need to fund those things? I get the 42, probably a little more than that. But if this was a profit business, you wouldn't feel it. You got $25 million. Taxes, taxes, taxes. I'll leave you with this. A fine is a tax for doing wrong, but a tax is fine for doing right.
Mary Williams.
Good evening. My name is Mary Susan Williams. Do live in Vance County within the city limits of Henderson. First of all, I want to say Happy New Year. And I hope since this is the first month of the new year, we can begin a productive and peaceful year. Every person in here, as well as in our county, has a vested interest in the success of Vance County. I hope these upcoming workshops make intentions clear on the prioritized business of this county. Sure, there are things that this county needs, and there's never enough money for it. But what about the needs of the people who put their hard-earned tax dollars in your hands? I'll ask a question, and you don't have to answer, but you can raise your hand if you like. How many of you did or will struggle to pay your tax bill this year? Do you wonder where you are going to get the money? Now I ask those of you here, will you or have any of you struggled to pay your taxes? And then if I could ask the citizens of all of Vance County to raise their hands, are you struggling as well? I'm thinking about all the people in Vance County who would raise their hand if I asked them these questions. How you spend our tax dollars is important. Make it personal to you. Every financial decision you make affects the residents of Vance County. I propose you all develop a cap on the amount you can raise tax rates. And even though the tax rates are different for the city and the county, and they are separate, please don't forget those of us who are at the mercy at the financial decisions of both the city council and the county commissioners. After all, we are all Vance County residents. Please make it make sense.
Angela Ryan.
Good evening. My name's Angela Ryan. I reside at 327 Franklin Road. And I'd like to address a couple of concerns that I have this evening and just bring up some points. Concerning the opioid grant monies, I want to know if there's a plan in place for these monies. There's been a lot addressed tonight on the drug issue that is here, which is probably in correlation with our overcrowded jail. So I really think that something needs to be done with that money rather than it just sitting and idle and doing nothing. So I'd like to know what your plan is for that. Concerning the fire department, I'm not sure, this may be rumor, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm open to your comments. It's been brought to my attention that the recent vote to unfreeze the fire department positions is being discussed and is a desire to undo that decision. If so, please reconsider and put the personal vendetta where it needs to be and learn to deal with your issues at home with that. It does not sit well with the taxpayers when personal issues continue to cost us money. Makes no sense. Fire study was done, same results that we had from 8+ years ago from that fire study. We need to stick with that. Let's move on and spend our money in a decent way. That's what we're asking you to do. That's what I've heard all these people stand up here tonight. Please spend our money the way good stewards should. Just please use it as it's supposed to be done. Then I've got some concerns about our jail. So for several months ago, we've had several people, the sheriff and Mr. Mitchell, so many people coming up and speaking about the jail and the issues and the building of a new jail. Well, we can build a Taj Mahal, but if it is not properly looked at after and managed in a situation, I don't care what you build. It don't matter. That building a new jail is not the answer. But this is what's concerning to me, is 180 that are it's 167 in our jail. We have 13 inmates that are somewhere else because we can only bed 148. So I want to know where the rest of these people are sleeping. Does that pose a concern to anybody? What is it? What do we got here? And 33 of these were in for murder. We've had some of these inmates since 2017. What is going on, y'all? Then I understand that 2 of our staff from the sheriff's department sat at Mariah Parham Hospital on Saturday night when they were off duty to sit with 3 inmates as they required medical attention. They chose to do this out of the integrity that they have for the citizens of this county, because they sit there, because they're salaried, just like you all are. You're gonna get paid whether you work in 4 hours or whatever hours it is that you work. You're gonna get that pay. These men sat there in that hospital and devoted their extra time so that they would not have to pull somebody out of the county, so that we, the people, are protected. That is a concern of mine. It should be a concern of each and every one of you. It should be. And I have emailed. Thank you, Renee Perry. I commend you for always getting back to me. I really do. But for the rest of you, I got nothing, because you've given me nothing.
Burnett.
Good evening. Happy New Year. My name is Caroline Burnett. I live at 1825 Summit Road in the city. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak here publicly. I had to miss last month's meeting because I was swearing in some Granville County commissioners. First of all, I'd like to inquire about the opioid money, in which there is absolutely no plan in place. The opioid crisis in Henderson is real. And I know firsthand how significant it is. In fact, it's no secret in the legal world that Henderson has the best heroin around. Go ahead and read the warrants that are issued in court cases that are heard in criminal court. At least once a week, there's someone who's found passed out in a vehicle in the Lowe's parking lot, or overdoses in a public area due to heroin, or has possession of drug paraphernalia. We now have an H&I felony day in our court system, in which district court judges hear H&I felonies, which include possession of drug paraphernalia and possession of heroin. This happens once a month. We've added a new court date. Yet, and we've been blessed as a county to receive such a significant sum of money to assist in this crisis, yet the commission has done absolutely nothing to ensure that money is used or is starting to be used. Has a meeting even been held since the September yearly opioid meeting? Has anyone proposed any ideas? County needs to act, and act fast. This is a wonderful opportunity for this county to be a leader in combating a crisis that has affected probably every person in this room. I secondly have a wondering about the jail report that was not given to the county commissioners for 2 years. For 2 years, the state has required the jail to be on a corrective action plan, yet you as commissioners have not been privy to the report. The excuse, according to the agenda, was that there was jail turnover as well as turnover in the county manager's office. These issues at the jail are not acute. They didn't happen yesterday. They are ongoing issues. I've been practicing law here for 20 years. I was 9 months pregnant in 2005, meeting with inmates in the kitchenette of the jail because it was the only door that locked. And I was stuck in a kitchenette with an inmate and had to bang on the door to be able to get out, for somebody to let me out. This has been happening for years. And for the commission to say that we need a tax increase to build a new jail is simply disingenuous. And for you to think that we believe that is a real slap in the face. The issues with social services, which ended up costing the taxpayers $175,000, are not acute as well. They've been going on for at least 6 years, where social services has not followed policy and not made decisions that were based in policy and law. That's a fatal flaw, because you did not oversee the people who were in charge of social services. Children have been compromised. Yet, I pray that the new director restores the culture of service to our social services and not power and control. It's time to take back our county, and you and these commissioners in 2005 have a unique opportunity to do that. Vance County has been my home for 25 years, and I love it here, and that's why I stay here. I have so many people telling me I need to move. Do the right thing for everyone instead of for your personal agendas. We all deserve it.
Thank you all. we now got some appointments.
Madam Chair,
Madam
can I just make one public
Yes.
announcement? I know there's been a lot of conversation about tax appeals and so forth. January is the month. I said, just make a public comment. January is the month which you can file to appeal your tax value on your property. Is that correct, Mr. Attorney? So if anybody wants to appeal, now would be the time to do that, in the month of January. It's the month of January. The whole month of by the end of January, you need to file an appeal if you're gonna appeal. I think we've got planning retreat.
We got a retreat that we'd like for everyone to come out
Yeah,
to.
we've got a planning retreat coming up
January the 31st.
January 31st,
Yeah.
and that issue will be addressed there.
Be addressed.
Yeah, that's correct, but there's no public comment period at the retreat.
What?
No public comment period at the
No public
retreat
comment
There'll
period.
be
that
information.
we'll be discussing, yes.
So our first appointment is Logan Parson, LKC engineer.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you for having me. I am Logan Parsons with LKC Engineering. I come before you tonight to bring this resolution. Let me give a little backstory on this. This resolution is associated with the Vance County Water District Phase 1B project. For clarity, that project is well along. What happened was this tentative award. This was supplemental money, grant money received from the state of North Carolina, supplement to the existing loan and grant money from USDA that you already had in place. The state, what happened was the project was already so far along. This supplemental money was slid in. This is one of the paper trails that is needed. It's an award that is needed to go back to the state so that they can sign off and then release the money when it's time to be reimbursed. So you're probably still almost a year away from spending any of this money, but the project is about an 18th month long project with all the water lines that are going in. So what you'll have is this money will be once you pass this resolution, we'll turn it back to the state, and then that's the last piece of paper that's needed before everything's in place, and you can seek reimbursement once you spend it. So you'll spend your USDA loan first, you'll spend your USDA grant, and let me add, there was $2 million of other allocation from the state or from Vance County that was associated with this project. So it's a significant project, but this resolution is needed to give that back to NCDEQ DWI. I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.
Very good, thank you. We'll proceed with that.
Discussion. Any discussion? I'm sorry.
Ma'am?
Any discussion?
If possible, I would like to add a little clarity to one of the public comments that we had, and it's related to this same project, the water line project. Is that okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so the Vance County Water District Phase 1B project is the water tower in Kittrell that was rehabbed as part of it. This next phase that's about to start construction is like 24 miles of water line throughout Kittrell and the southern part of Vance County. One of the areas that is served or will be served with water is Abbott's Crossing. This was designed, surveyed, and is part of the project. What'll happen is we come in off of two areas of Abbott's Crossing. A water line will come in. There will be a water line installed, or is planned to be installed, down Abbott's Crossing Lane and Sheeran Lane, as well as the other side roads that are within the development. This road failure came up during the design. We've consulted with USDA, your primary funding agency, on it. Because of where the water line gets installed, the water line goes the one line that goes along Abbott's Crossing, it goes parallel with this failed roadway failure. We were asked to look at the roadway failure whenever we were going through the design process. What had happened was there was some improper construction technique whenever that initial storm drain was put in, and the settlement occurred around the storm pipe. So the road and the asphalt and everything has failed and washed down and washed, down the storm pipe and on. And it's continued to get worse. Every time it rains, just continues to get worse. This water line needs to go right beside where that storm pipe is. It also needs to cross the storm pipe because it has to go down Sheeran Lane so we can continue to serve the other residents and loop the water throughout the subdivision. So what we did as part of the design is we're able to saw cut out, or we planned to saw cut out the asphalt that's failed, backfill around the culvert, install the new water line, backfill around the water line, bring it all the way back up to grade, and then patch the asphalt that's right there at Abbott's Crossing and Sheeran Lane. USDA allowed us to do that because it was directly in the same location as where the water line needs to be installed. And that was an acceptable cost because of that. So I wanted to add that clarity that it is part of the project, at least that one intersection.
Thank you, Logan.
You're welcome.
My second appointment, Ferdinand Ross, Economic Development Director.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here in front of you today to talk about an opportunity that we received from the North Carolina Railroad Company for grants to do some site assessments. So a little bit about the North Carolina Railroad Company. They're a state-owned, and their sole focus is to make sure that the rail infrastructure within the state is being used for business growth and relocation. So the grant award is that we received $40,000, $20,000 for 2 sites within the Henderson Vance Industrial Park for us to do some site assessments. So the studies, phase 1 environmental, wetlands delineation study, and a geotechnical studies on those sites. So the first site is the 82-acre site that's owned by the county that sits on Bear Pond Road. And there's an aerial shot of that site. And then the second site is the 45-acre site that's owned by the Henderson Vance Industrial Park Board that sits on the 45-acre site. And here's a picture of the aerial of that site as well. So these 2 sites have been, we've been awarded grants to do some site assessments. And I'm looking for you all to give us authorization to go forward with those grants. So the grants themselves would come from the North Carolina Railroad Company. It'd be $20,000 for one site, $20,000 for the other, and we'd be able to complete those studies. We'd have a 2-year window to complete those studies. We can request more if needed. And then once those studies are completed, we would provide the completed studies to the North Carolina Railroad Company to show them that we've actually went through with it. And then after that, we'd have to market the sites for 5 years or until they were eventually sold or anything like that. So that's already the 5-year marketing already falls into what we're already doing in the natural day-to-day work. So the real thing was just be for us to make sure that we hit that 2-year window to make sure that we meet the requirements in the contract. So that's my presentation now. Do you have any questions for me?
Any match?
No, sir. All this money is,
100% then.
yeah, 100% their way. They will give us, if we don't, for some reason, we didn't complete the studies within the 2 years, we'd have to return the funds, but there is no match requirement.
Do you have an estimate of the cost to perform these?
So I've did some research and it's about $2,500 for the phase 1. We had one done in 2018, and those other studies sit about the same.
So my recommendation for the board is that because this is $20,000 per site and the terms of the award require that total repayment if we do not complete them as required is what listed as we're supposed to do. I believe it's 3 different things, that we have estimates that are less than the $20,000 per site before this goes forward, assuming you guys authorize this evening.
make that motion to do that.
So. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye? All
Aye.
opposed? The motion carries.
All right, thank you. And I've already begun getting quotes from a few companies that can do these studies.
All right, thank you. Next is William Coker, Animal Service Manager. Okay, so we're going to the public hearing. Okay, so we're gonna open the floor for our public hearing concerning our 2025-26 budget. So, if there is any comment, you're, 3 minutes. So if anyone would like to speak on our 2025-26 budget, public hearing is open.
Again, my name is Caroline Burnett. I live at 1825 Summit Road here in Henderson. The two things that I would like to talk about is, of course, I would like for the commissioners to reconsider the tax rate and to hold themselves accountable for the way that the tax rate was voted on and what the information was given to the public. The second thing I would ask that not be placed in the budget is the $150,000 that is going to be used to redecorate this room. This is a perfectly acceptable room. And so I would ask that that not be in the budget.
Clarify that, because we don't, that's not, we don't.
Hi, I'm Penny Stevens, 20 Jewel Lane, Henderson, North Carolina. I'm with her. I would like for you to reconsider the tax rate, and I do not see any reason for the $150,000 for this room. This room is perfectly fine. These seats, we're comfortable. You don't need more seats. And if you're trying to replace these seats, they're ours. We're comfortable.
I'll wait till the end of the public hearing.
My name is Laura Perkinson. I reside at 1560 Tolly Weldon Road in Henderson, North Carolina. I own multiple properties in the city and the county. I would ask that you all vote for a revenue neutral tax rate for this upcoming year. Also consider not charging late fees for this past year so we all can catch up. Also, please be mindful of the things that we're budgeting for this year. We could really use some help. Thank you.
Lee Chandler, 4568 Hicksboro Road. I'm gonna go a little further than that. With $25 million in surplus, I'm asking for a budget cut. A budget cut. Below revenue neutral from what it was then. Get $25 million in surplus. Still got it.
I'm Angela Ryan, 327 Franklin Road. You all know me. Been here a long time. And this budget that you proposed, I haven't had a chance. I'll wait for you, Dan. I want to make sure you hear everything. Stop my time and I'll wait for you to get back.
Go ahead.
Because I do believe this, we need to be heard, and I want to make sure that I am. The revenue neutral is definitely something that we all looked at last year when we were told that that's what we were going with. However, it was voted differently. I don't know that we can trust the budget because it isn't something that is held as a standard, because you all seem to vote and do whatever it is that you feel like you want to do differently. So yeah, I'm for the revenue neutral and even have a tax break even for that. And I just ask that you really consider every line item, every one of those line items real, because they mean something. Don't just overlook things. And I'm with I don't know about what we're going to do to redecorate or what in this room, and maybe that's a rumor. I really don't know. And if it is, that's fine. Please squash it right now. It's a rumor. So let's move on then. If that's a rumor, then I don't want to spread it, but I would hope that each and every one of you would know that we, the people, we're not okay with spending money like that right there. Not at this point. We're just not. I thank you for your time.
Are there any more comments? Well, we're gonna close.
Commissioner
Yeah.
Fan, I'd like to say something
Yes.
to the public. I want to say to the public, we hear you, and when we do our session, in January, I hope that we will seriously consider some of the things that you have approached, and I'm gonna tell you this. I'm a citizen of Vance County first. Carolyn, you said that, you're a citizen. I've been here 78 years, all my life. And I want to say to you all that when we did the thing in terms of tax increase, I did it to me too, okay? My county taxes went from $1,223 to $2,020, over $2,000 increase. So we hear you, I hear you, I feel it. And so when we start looking, I'd like to say to you and my good friend Melissa, unfortunately, we got double whammy. We got a 30% increase. And so I want to say to you, I feel your pain. I feel what's happened to us and I'll be the first to admit I did it to me. Okay? And so as we look to the future, I hope that we can provide some release, not only for you, but for me. And I'd like to join your cause to go to the city and fight for the reduce, because those of us living in the city saw a 30% increase. My son's house went up monthly, $400 a month. The lady who said in terms of moving, you're not going to get young folks into this area and everything if they have that kind of time. He lives down the street from Melissa Lemons and everything. So we hear you. I feel your pain. I had to pay out, the lady said, I paid my tax, but I paid it grudgingly. Okay? So when we go into retreat, we're going to take the things that you brought before us in consideration. Mr. Chandler, I know in terms of opening up Pandora's box, but I went back and checked with you. You and I have about the same amount of square footage. 23 prior, you paid $800. I paid $1,300. Of course, then this year you went up, your taxes went up, mine went up to over $2,500, my county taxes, not including my city tax, okay? So I want to say we hear you.
The way it was handled was the public was told, we had a budget meeting. I was told that at the meeting, that the budget meeting, when it was discussed, that it was never discussed. And then the county puts out on the Facebook page, oh yeah, we discussed it and it was 71 cents. That was not.
We hear you, so we're gonna, you have a chance to have input. Okay.
Which is perceptions of that's next. And somebody decided this.
No one,
outside-
okay, I got you, I hear you, I hear you, okay, I hear you.
Okay, I want to say something, basically as a clarification. In 2024, I just want the community to understand that there was 3 things happening involving taxes. It wasn't just one scoop. We had reevaluations that's separate. That won't happen again this year. It's scheduled to happen again in 8 years unless the board, which we're looking at, reducing the amount of time in which we can review and have evaluations done, which we're required by law to do. Secondly, we have a budget. We must implement a budget every year so that we can know what needs to be provided for the citizens of Vance County in terms of expenses that the county has, expenditures, repairs, and so forth, construction and so forth. Then we had the tax rate. All three of those things were totally different, but they all affected the taxes. And I just want people to understand, a lot of times people came up and were saying, well, we don't know how much is being spent. If you go to vancecounty.org and pull up the website, we even have tonight a quarterly report that we're putting out from our finance department that shows what we're spending every quarter. We have a yearly budget, then we have a quarterly report of how we're spending the taxpayers' money. So if you want to know, some people got to do their own research. And when you do your own research by going online or calling our clerk and requesting that information, you can find out for yourself how a lot of the money is being spent and the necessary expenses that we have. Now, in just everything, sometimes you just can't go out and just spend all your money at one time. You must keep a certain amount in those accounts so that in the event we need a new fire truck, we need a new ambulance, those things are expensive. When we need those things, we have to keep a certain amount of money in our fund balance so we can afford those things. Then we have certain projects that we are looking at. They may not have been implemented, but that does not mean the board is not looking at those things. Right now, there's a substation getting ready to be built in Williamsboro. That's going to cost money. We're looking at a possible EM station. That's going to cost money. And in a situation with the jail, either we're going to have to repair or we're going to have to be a one or the other. It's going to have to happen. But just because the money is sitting in an account don't mean that we are not contemplating how we're going to have to spend. Now, in terms of this opioid money, we welcome input from the community. Every one of you have a voice. And if you have a voice and you want to contact our county manager with recommendations, suggestions, we don't turn those recommendations away. And I would suggest each and every one of you have any recommendations, give them to us, in which she will in turn let us know. Now, a lot of things have been said tonight that's not even before the board. We have sub boards. I encourage people to get on the planning board, the zoning board. So there's our other boards and auxiliaries that a lot of this stuff goes through and doesn't even come before the county commissioner. So I would suggest that the community as a whole examine these different boards and participate. This is not the be all, this board of 7 people. There are various steering committees and boards that our community can participate in. And I would recommend that all of you do that if you have the time to do it. Now, in terms of what the time that we spend, we have spent a lot of time, more than what you see once a month. We are required to be on various boards, various committees. We got budgets to review. So we're constantly working. You might see us in this meeting once a month, but that doesn't mean that the work stops here, because it does not. But again, if you have any comments, if you have any complaints, any recommendations, contact our county manager, because she is in charge of operating the county. We're in charge of making policies. There's different people have different functions, and one person does not do everything. But if you have some concerns, just let us know. And I wish all of you a good year coming forth. And just know, like Leo said, this tax situation didn't just affect you all, it affected everybody on this board as well. And nobody was trying to hurt themselves. We were trying to do the best thing for this county. And everybody's not going to agree, but sometimes you got to agree to disagree. But if you can do it better and you got some suggestions, just give it to our county manager. And then that way it can come back to us. And then we, during one of our work sessions or meetings, then we can review that information. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. We're in public hearing, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I voted for the 7. I voted for the, I didn't have
I got a job to do.
I voted no. And I didn't get to get an email back. Other than this. So that's, the buck stops here. The buck stops with the 7.
Okay. So that's, we are public hearing, any more?
Can we get Mr. Perry to give us clarification
Yeah.
on this
Yes, I was gonna
remodel
ask.
thing that's
Yeah.
popped up?
Yes,
So
Mark,
I just
yeah.
want to clarify that there was never a budget for $150,000 to renovate this room. What happened was I had my staff go out and get pricing for audio, for possible new chairs for the commissions, because these chairs, from my understanding, have been up here since the late 1980s. So it was just a request to get a quote for chairs and possible use, change these chairs out where you all are sitting now to make this a multi-purpose room, because we don't have any meeting space outside of this area right here. So there was never a request for $150,000 to upfit this room. That's definitely not true. So I just wanted to make sure I clarify that.
Thank you all. And thank you, commissioners. We're gonna close our public hearing. Is there no more comments?
You come up front
Yeah.
where, so the people that are listening remotely can hear you. Thank you.
But I want to make sure everybody can hear me. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Ms. Dempster, you just stated that you all were aware that there were 3 different entities going on, correct? So why did you not take that into perspective when we were misinformed about our taxes? Why not? You knew that there were 3 things going on that were major plays. So it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
First of all, in terms of the things going on, we review a budget every single year. There's budget hearing, it's open to the public to attend. This is a budget hearing. This has happened every year. I've been on here for the last 8 years. We have a budget hearing at the beginning of the year for the public to come up and make comments about how they foresee they want to spend money and making suggestions. There's a budget that's printed on vancecounty.org that's open to anyone who wants to look at it. And if they want to go by line, they're welcome to do that and give their suggestions back of what, just like you said earlier, what needs to be cut and what doesn't need to be cut. It's available. And like I said, in terms of reviewing quarterly, our financial director, quarterly, she's putting it out there and it's online. So we're not hiding anything. I just want to make that statement. We're not trying to hide anything. And the budget is something must be done every year. We must establish a tax rate every year, but every 8 years, there was an evaluation that needed to be done. So that was the only extra thing that we were required by statute, the North Carolina General Statutes, to complete this year. That's the only thing that was different.
Okay, we're gonna close the public.
10 cents.
I just want to say, I've been doing this I'm in my 19th year. And this is only the second time that we've had a budget public hearing where people have actually spoken. Thank you guys for
Yeah.
being here tonight.
Bobby West, 42 Tall Pines Drive. You know, I'm hearing y'all talking about budgets and monies and stuff like this. And some of y'all been on the budget, this committee for a long time and stuff, but has anybody ever took the time to see what it costs the county from the time a person is put in handcuffs, mostly drug related, to go through the system, courts, court-appointed attorneys? That is a substantial, you probably got 10% of the population taking probably 60% of that type of funding from the county, which can be put other places. And that's why we would like to, I presented y'all that, but somebody gave me a figure. It's an astronomical figure. But one individual puts on the county finances once they get in the system. Once the Paradise of them locks them up, put handcuffs on them, through the jails, courts, hospital visitations, escorted, deputies sitting there, somebody take the time and check on that. If you can eliminate the amount of people going into the jails, that is a savings to the taxpayer.
I would suggest while you're here, you might want to have a conversation with Judge Burnett Because we don't control the jail and Sheriff Brain. They control the jail and the who goes there, who comes out. We just provide the funding. We have no say in how that jail is being run.
Yeah, my thing is, if you, a big percentage of people want to use the system is hooked on drugs. And that's where we would like to step up and try to get them off of drugs and out of the system. That's what we want.
Okay, and I would suggest that if you have a proposal in terms of your ministry, we welcome it.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Yeah, we welcome it.
Again, we want to thank each and every one of you. Like I said, it was so good to have you out and have a discussion. And one more thing before we go on, we do thank our county manager for responding. That was the way that we as a board chose to, because like I said, I'm a high school teacher, so I'm in the classroom all day long. And I work down in Franklin County. And so we thought it was easier for her to respond to the email. And so we do thank her for responding. It's never that you overlooked or we don't see the concerns or hear you. And if I do overlook, anytime, we do apologize, but most of the time we ask her to respond so you can get firsthand information from our county manager. So we thank her and we thank you all as well. So we're going to close our public hearing.
Let's keep.
Well, like I said, we're gonna close we're gonna move on to our public, we're closing the public hearing. Mr. Coker is not here. And so we're gonna go on to, we're gonna open up our water, board committee. We'll turn it over to our county manager.
Anyone from our EnviroLink here? Oh, okay, all right. Okay, so I guess you can just, is there any questions for the water district, for the report, for the monthly report? Do y'all have any questions?
Any questions? Oh,
One comment I'd like to make is I want to make sure that the customers out there know, or people that could be potential customers out there in the county know that we have reduced the tap fee and the hookup fee to 125, is that right?
Yes, and we've sent letters out to all the eligible customers about 2 weeks ago. Is that right, Kelly? That mass mailing that we did about 2 weeks ago? December 31st? Yeah, we've sent out the mailing to the potential customers.
Yes. Make sure the people sending the bills put a note in the bill that if they've got any neighbors or somebody near them, if they would let them know that it's down to that right now, since we've got so many customers across the county.
Okay.
Okay, is that application available on the county website?
I believe it is up on the water. Frankie, is the water application available on our website for the new tap, for the new water system? It is. Okay, yeah, the application is up on the water. It is.
We could put a little flag or something in the new notes that say, go here for it.
I can get, well, yeah, absolutely.
The other thing, the thing we did tonight with the resolution for the water, did that need to be done in the water committee or did that need to be done? In this committee?
It didn't. Okay.
Any more discussion?
Come in.
Okay, so we're gonna close the water board. And now we're gonna hear from our finance director, Ms. Williams.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So this report is going to cover the period, our fiscal year beginning July 1 of 2024. It's going to go through December 31st of 2024. So our revenues, thus far, we have collected 37.6% of our revenue, which is equating to about $23,034,099.50 of the amended revenue budget. Of the expenses, we have paid out 41.47% of our amended expenditure, which is $25,774,740.94. So as of the date of this report, we have spent $2,740,641.44 more than what we have collected in revenues. So also in this report, I have the expenses outlined by the categories. So I will not read all of them, but I will read just a few. So salaries today, we have paid $6.8 million in salaries For Vance County, we have given them, Vance County Schools, given them $5 million. Contracted services, $1,688,580. For support for community agencies such as the library, recreation, Boys and Girls Club, $1,378,386. It's also in liability, property, and workers' comp insurance that we are mandated to have. We spent $828,505. Vance Granville Community College, we have given them $760,251. So, but this list is out there on the website, so I won't read all of them. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, no questions? Thank you. I thought I did. I did close the water board.
Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, just a couple of things. I know on the last part of it, you've got percentages of expended. Where those percentages are over, it should be 50% expended right now. Those that are 58, 60%, could you get us some information on why we're over budget on those areas?
So they're not over budget. So the budget,
Year to date, they're over budget. They should be, spending level on items should be at about 50% right now. 6 months of the year, 50%, correct?
so I know there's a budget, but we have to pay expenses as they're coming in. There's salaries, and based upon, there's some emergencies that may come up that we have to pay for those. So
So what I'm asking is, if we've got those situations, tell us what those situations are so that we're knowing that we're going to be on track with the budget for those items.
So when we look at the budget, we look at the budget as a total. So you're wanting anytime it's going to be.
You've got it itemized.
Yeah, it's all.
If you look at legal services, we spent 61.88% at this point. Okay, so
Yeah.
are there legal situations that we've had that have incurred more expense? You know, we spent 67% on the Eaton Johnson building. What are the deal? What's going on there that makes that over 50%?
So I know that, okay, so I know that there has been some issues that have come up with the building that have need to be paid. With the legal service that you mentioned, that I know one of the things that we instituted this year is that we're needing more of the things that are coming up or what we're working on. We're involving our
And you don't
county
have to answer
attorney.
that now. If
Okay,
you could just get that and
Okay.
answer back to us.
okay,
Just on those that are 60% or above right now. That would be great.
okay,
Ms. Williams, we're going to
Okay,
close our
thank
finance
you.
report and open our county manager report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Fire Marshal's Office budget, at your August 2024 regular meeting, the board approved the creation of a separate fire marshal position based off of the fire study recommendations. And so the fire study highlighted critical areas where enhanced fire safety measures and oversight are essential to protect our residents, businesses, and infrastructure. So to improve fire code enforcement, increase fire prevention education, enhance investigation capabilities, and streamline fire safety planning, the staff is requesting a proposed budget of $179,540 for the remainder of fiscal year 25. The proposed budget is attached for your review, and the recommendation is just to approve the budget amendment 19 for $179,540 from fund balance to create the budget for the fire marshal's office.
Now, I have a concern, on line item 500074 capital outlay.
Mhm.
Got $83,000 for a vehicle, a radio, and upfit.
Yes, sir.
We have plenty of vehicles laying around the fire department that could be moved over to the department and used without having to spend $83,000.
So do you know of any additional vehicles that we have at the fire department?
We have the
Chris?
same one the old fire marshal used. We have the one the old fire marshal. We've got too many vehicles at the fire department. We need to look at being more efficient. I'll be happy to sit down with you and go through the vehicle inventory.
Chris, do you want to speak to that about vehicles in the fire department, since you would be aware of what we have?
Good evening. The two current vehicles you're talking about are stationed vehicles, one for the main station, one for the substation. So that are probably the two vehicles that you're talking about. And I'm currently occupying the vehicle that I had as the fire chief. So it was, we talked about trying to replace that vehicle. So the incoming fire chief or whatever would have his vehicle back.
What other vehicles do we have other than fire trucks? We've got a Tahoe, don't we?
That Tahoe is down at the lake station, and that's the prevention vehicle for Vance County Fire Department.
So why can't that be used as, just used with another vehicle? Why do we need a special vehicle to go to fire prevention with? These things just aren't making sense. We've got to be more thrifty with our money.
No, that vehicle's been used for, as a station vehicle for there and out of town trips. And then you got the pickup truck at the main station that is used by the fire department and the battalion chiefs if needed be.
Is there any vehicle that you got in the fire department that's not earmarked and is sitting there as spare?
No, sir.
So every vehicle you've got now, you've got a use for, is that correct?
Yes, sir. The fire department has a use for it. I don't personally know more not being the fire chief, but the fire department has a use for it. That department has a use for it.
So there's nothing sitting out there that's not being earmarked or used for something?
We didn't get rid of any vehicles when we changed out and consolidated the fire marshal. The same number of vehicles is still.
I'm not disagreeing with anything you say, Dan. I'm just asking him if he got anything out there as excess.
Yeah.
And he's telling me no. I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
What I'd like to see us do, Madam Chair, is I'd like to see us reduce the budget to $96,540. And I know, so that would mean voting no on this motion and going forward from there.
So my question is, we got the 179,000, and we know we're talking about vehicles, but what do the vehicles have to do with the budget that they need a budget in place, right?
But he doesn't have a vehicle to drive. He has a fire chief vehicle, but once
That's
we.
why I'm trying to figure out what we're doing with cars versus, just trying to get understanding.
We have the same vehicle we had when we had a fire marshal and a fire chief. They're still there.
It don't matter what we had and when we were and what was this.
We don't have
I
any
asked the
more
man-
people.
I asked the man point blank if he had any extra vehicles or were they all used? He sits there and tells me they're all used. There's a motion and a second on the floor.
So you saying they all used? They all been used?
Yes, ma'am. They're all designated.
That's why we recommended a new vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah, we wouldn't have recommended a new vehicle had we known he had a vehicle to use.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Nay.
So the ayes have it.
Thank you.
So personnel policy amendments, General Statute 143-805 requires public agencies to adopt a policy governing the use of its network as well as the use of devices owned, leased, maintained, or otherwise controlled by that public agency no later than January 1st, 2025 to prohibit allowing pornography to be viewed on their networks or devices. All of these policies must delineate the disciplinary actions that will be taken in response to a policy violation. Staff has worked with the county attorney to update our current technology acceptable use policy, and the recommendation is just to consider and adopt the amended technology acceptable use policy, which now includes the mandated additions per General Statute 143-805 with an effective date of 1/1/2025.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to adopt the amended technology acceptable use policy.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. All opposed? The
Okay.
motion carries.
So the next thing is just the EEOC's Pregnant Workers Fairness Act policy. As required by the federal EEOC, Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, Vance County will provide reasonable accommodations to qualified employees and job applicants with known limitations due to pregnancy, childbirth, and related medical conditions unless it would pose an undue hardship on Vance County's operations. This policy applies to applicants and all employees, regardless of employment status, who are pregnant, having recently given birth, or have related medical conditions covered under the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. And the recommendation is just to consider and adopt the proposed Vance County Pregnant Workers Fairness Act policy with an effective date of 1/1/2025.
Was this reviewed by the HR committee?
No, it's something that we have to implement. It's the EEOC requires it, so we did not take it to the HR committee. The same as the pornography policy as well. It's required by law.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
So the next thing on my report is the jail inspection reports. And so, of course, the state conducted its periodic jail inspections in 23 and 24. These reports were not brought to the Board of County Commissioners due to staff turnover in both the detention center as well as the county manager's office. And I spoke directly via email with the chief jail inspector. And I believe that I was not on their email list, so I did not receive any different reports. So that's why you're just getting these tonight from me. I had emailed them, but I wanted to make sure I presented it in open session as well. And so as you are aware, the sheriff is responsible for overseeing the jail, although it is necessary for the commissioners to receive the jail inspection report and be aware of potential budget items. County staff plans to have conversations with the Board of County Commissioners during your annual retreat to discuss a plan moving forward for the detention center. And so the recommendation is just to act to receive the report as information.
I'll make a motion that we receive the reports, the jail inspection reports for 23 and 24.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion?
This question, do we have the responses to those reports?
So I believe, Sheriff, can you speak to the responses that were sent back to the state on the jail inspection reports?
Copied that, but yes, we do.
And I don't have the responses either.
But we do respond to those.
Can we get a copy of the responses?
You can. I'll make sure they have, I'll give it to
Okay,
you.
yeah, because I asked Major Hawkins for, I think, 24, and I didn't receive it. I think I have 23, but
Okay.
maybe not 24.
Yes,
Yeah, okay,
we'll get that to you.
okay, thank you.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Okay, the next thing on my report was sheriff legal fees, but the sheriff has decided that he does not want to have that discussion tonight. So that can be marked off of my report, actually. And the next thing was your work session. So I talked to Chair Faines, and we would like to move forward with adopting the agenda to add your work sessions back. Is that, Kelly, is that in their agenda? Okay, it's in your packet. So we will start back with those work sessions in February. But my question to the commissioner, so do we still want to do committees as well as work sessions, or just do work sessions when we just have items to discuss, or you kind of want to do both still?
I think it would be good to go ahead and schedule these, and if we
Mhm.
find we don't need them, then it would be.
Just cancel,
then the
okay,
chair can
okay,
cancel
all
them.
right, but still do our committees as well,
Still do
okay,
committees,
all right.
correct.
I have a question about, the jail inspection reports. It says 2023 and 2024. My question is, are we supposed to get 2 a year or 1 a year?
That question was asked of Dan earlier this morning. I told her that it's 2 a year. Okay, so did we get 2 in 23 and 2 in 24, Sheriff?
They usually do 2 a year.
Okay, so do you remember 2 in 23 and 2 in 24?
Just, they done one several months ago, and then they just came back probably about 2 weeks ago and done another.
Okay, so we haven't gotten the
They
one
hadn't-
from 2
no, we
weeks
haven't-
ago.
I haven't even got that one.
Okay, okay.
I just want to make sure that we haven't been getting the 2 a year, that we've, going forward, that we make sure that we get copies of the 2 per year.
Okay.
Because this looks like we only got 1 in 2023 and 1 in 24. And I just want to clarify that it's supposed to be 2 per
Okay, so
year.
response, okay.
There was one dated April 17th and one dated.
I believe it, now, see, I don't know if it's the physical year or calendar year, but I know it's 2 a year. So I have to check with Chris Wood with the jail inspection and find out, but I'll make sure you get them.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the amended meeting schedule to include the work sessions.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
And so the last thing on my report is a continuation conversation as it relates to the EMS substation in the northern part of the county. So at your December meeting, there were some questions raised on whether or not the land would perk for a septic system. And after that meeting, Frankie reached out to the soil consultants and they confirmed for us that there was a about 13,840 square feet according to the documentation that has the potential for a septic system. So, and I know we just want to action on, do we want to move forward with purchasing that land?
Move forward, I make a motion, we move forward with purchase of the land.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Well, just for clarification, has everything been done that's necessary to make sure that everything's in order so that if, once we purchase the land, it'll be proper or in order so that we can go forward with the actual, construction? I just want to make sure that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
According to the soil consultants, yes, ma'am.
I've been out there and looked at it.
Mhm.
I can tell you that you're gonna spend a lot of money for field because it's a valley. And then as it goes up to a hill, and all the perk land is on the front end side of it. And so I can tell you right now, buy it if you want, but you're gonna have a lot more cost involved because of the way it lays and the terrain. And I also had the fire chief who built how many stations did you build in Warren County? Two stations in Warren County. You went out there and looked at it. What was your interpretation?
You got the slow pad goes from left to the right.
Well, have we sent our professionals out there? Have they?
Yeah, we've had soil consultants. Yeah.
Got topos on it.
Yeah.
We've looked at all those.
So, the individual who did the evaluation, you have a copy of their report and is it posted?
Yeah, it was in your December agenda, but I can email it back to you all if you
That
want
way,
to.
if anybody, in the community wants to look at.
Oh, yeah, put it on the website. Is that what you're saying? It's out on the agenda from December's meeting, but yes, ma'am.
Based on those experts that looked at the topiary and everything, they're saying everything is in order and they don't foresee these possible problems.
Correct.
Now, in the event that they do arise, is there any, would insurance cover those things or is any potential liability?
No.
We've done a design phase, we'll design the building. That'll all be accounted for there.
Okay.
Now, I'd like to clarify that a little bit. Everything has been done short of designing a building and doing the site design work and placing it on the actual parcel. To do that would require a lot more investment and does eliminate additional and expose issues as Commissioner Hester raised. But at this point, the actual design of the building and site design work has not been done, and we've not engaged any engineers to do that for us.
Who's giving the okay on who's giving the okay on it so far?
But this is just to move forward with purchase of the land to see if we can actually have a septic system. We're just wanting to purchase the land for the septic system. So we only use soil consultants thus far.
We have survey, we have topos. We have survey and we have topos.
You have not placed a building on that property.
No, sir.
Nobody up here that I know of has been out there and walked that property.
I have.
Well, let's put it this way. Are you satisfied with that piece of property?
Yeah, for what we're paying for the property, the amount of the development that it'll take.
If he thinks it'll work, let it have it. Go for it.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor.
I have a question. Would it be feasible to actually have an engineer to give a prospectus on it? And is it are we under any kind of due diligence to go ahead and purchase it, before we can get that done? Just have an architect or whoever would survey, whoever would need to go and give, satisfy Tommy's questions to actually go out in terms of,
So in order to do that, it would require significant amount of time and investment going forward. To answer your initial question, we do still have some time and under due diligence according to the contract Unfortunately, our landowner does not like how long it is taking for this process to go on. And this individual is calling and pushing and expects and wants us to close. But to do that, we would have to engage an engineer and an architect to design the actual building, which is going to take more than just something I think that staff would do, but then also have them look at the site once we know what's going on there to place it and design the site work that it would take to have that building sit on there.
Now, what gets me and everything, we have two guys that both deal in construction. I'd like for them to get together and look at it together and see whether or not, is one saying one thing, one saying another. And so I'd like, based on what Finch's saying, rather than spend the money, can we have a meeting of the minds and let them look at it before we move forward as a,
That's up to
as a
you all.
group, as two commissioners? They got the background in training in building and construction. Huh?
I mean,
You say one thing, he says another, then we get, what Fincher says in terms of engineering, we can't afford an engineer. We need to know before we move forward whether or not it's going to work. You gotta. The Vance Grammar Community College was built on the same, let me finish. Vance Grammar Community College was built on the same fact in terms of backfill. That's when you can't see the college from the road because the plan called and they had to do a whole lot of backfilling in order to do what they did 50 years ago. So if there's something wrong, you need to look at it.
there's gonna be, there's the size of the building we've been talking about, there's about a 2-foot difference in grade.
What's the size of the building?
What we've talked about
What's the
is,
size of the building?
it's like a 50 by 80. Well, that's what most other fire departments are doing in the
What
small.
was the building until you built down in Warren County? So you're talking about 40 by 50 or less, 40 by 40?
Yeah.
Would you have a problem getting those plans from Warren County for us to look at as evaluation up here? You gonna get us those?
So, but we got an issue also with, you said the landowner, right? They getting restless.
Due diligence period.
She's just getting a little impatient.
But
But per the, purchase contract, how much time do we have?
Off the top of my head, I want to say it was 12 months, but I don't remember exactly. I believe it was 12 months for due diligence.
I don't know how long it's been.
How long has it been?
I think it's started the first part of September, maybe?
7, 8 months.
Yeah, I think it hasn't even been that long, maybe 4 or 5 months. I think we started in September. can't
I've got to go
remember.
back and look because
Yeah.
the execution of that document, again, we're dealing with someone who is not using email and a lot of the communication process. And we thought that the contract had been received by her and it had not been and got lost in the mail, literally, I believe. So the execution date was different than when I thought we had initially authorized it and sent it out. So I'd have to go back and look to even say anything with any certainty on when it was finally signed.
So, but we still have a motion and a second, right? A second?
Yeah.
On the floor? Any other
With
discussion?
the motion, with the motion,
Brahman and
you said.
Yeah. we got
Yolanda.
the discussion.
any other,
So let me ask another question. Just off of the top, how much are we proposing that we pay for this land?
25.
20,000. Okay, so if it doesn't work out,
Mhm.
we invested the 20,000 in.
Mhm.
Okay.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Aye. I just want to make sure. Okay, the, ayes have it.
But I would, still like for, if we can, without a lot of expense, to still look at whether or not the feasibility of the issues that Tommy addressed, because I don't want us to purchase this land and then we can't do anything with it. I think that's a waste of money. So I want to make sure that with this purchase, that we are going to be able to actually utilize the land. And so if we can get additional information that's going to help, make that determination, I think we should go for it in the next months leading up to the expiration of the contract.
Wasn't the vote to purchase
We
that?
voted to purchase.
Yeah, but we,
We just voted to purchase property.
Yeah.
Huh? You already voted to purchase it, right?
Yes.
So that.
It don't make no difference now when
You
you,
voted to purchase
you
it.
just vote to purchase it.
So you don't get at what she was trying to get at.
And she voted to purchase it.
Yeah, I don't want to miss out on it, but I still.
No, I don't
we
want
can
to.
Use it.
By the way, there's a lot across the street that is level and the house burned down.
Mhm.
They burn it down. So there is another place out there for it.
Okay, so, we're gonna move on to our county attorney's report.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first thing I want to address is,
Excuse me, I think we skipped number D.
Which one?
Did we cover D?
Uh-huh, the sheriff,
Over that. He
yeah,
didn't want
we
to-
did. The sheriff decided
Oh, so
to
you don't
have
want
me. Mm-mm.
Okay,
Yeah, he wanted to withdraw his request.
all right, thanks.
the first thing that I wanted to address is back at the December 16th special called meeting, there were some votes for appointments to the Henderson Vance Economic Development Commission, as well as the Henderson Vance Industrial Park. Because those actions were not specifically listed on the notice and the agenda for the special called meeting, those votes were not allowed. As you see in the statute that I provided underneath my materials in your agendas this week, unless all members of the board are present, then only items which are listed on the agenda of the called meeting are able to be voted upon. And so therefore, those two appointments and any of the others actions were not valid and cannot hold, and they will need to be reappointed.
So we can put it on the next month agenda.
It is.
Okay, yeah.
So the EDC appointment and the HVI, the Henderson Industrial Park appointment.
I resign.
Okay.
No part of it.
So the other thing that I realized at the last meeting was that the general statutes provide for the proper way and the required way that you guys get notice when the chair or a majority of the board call for special meetings or emergency meetings. But it appeared that some commissioners may have had a concern with the method in which you guys were also notified other than just being sent the notice. And so the other purpose for tonight was to ask each of y'all to let Kelly know on how you would like to be notified when we have special or emergency called meetings. If that doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that the meetings are not properly called. But one of the things that I think as staff that we can do is note where we have concerns. The last thing that we want to do is not try and let you guys know in every way possible. And it sounded like at the last meeting, we might have had some concerns or some questions. And I'm sure with it being called over the holidays and a lot of everything, that only exemplified that. And so in addition to the way in which the statutes require you guys to be noticed, I would like to request that each of y'all let our clerk know the best way to get you guys notice, whether it be a telephone call, whether it be a text, whether it be an email to an additional email address, which isn't your county email address, however you want. I would encourage each of you all to let our clerk know that so that we can try and accommodate that above and beyond what we have done. So those were the issues that I wanted to bring up. Both of those related to the special called meetings that we've had and we've had 2 in the past 4 weeks, which is probably more than we've had in quite some time.
My other question was, and I asked Ms. Perry that, was, I asked to see the documentation we had from the city relative to the conversation that was held in that special call meeting. At that time, we did not have anything. Is that information subsequently for the one that I was not at? The one where the city talked about wanting to get out of the planning.
Where they gave us notice of terminating.
But I was told there wasn't any written notice of that.
No, there was.
I didn't get it.
It was in your weekly update.
Yeah, it came in the weekly update following that, if I remember correctly. I remember reading it, that's why.
I'll see. With our email system now, if you send me an email and somebody responds to it, it disappears.
You can change your settings.
Okay.
We can get IT to
You might can change it.
It's in the thread. Yeah, I did. I sent it. I
Okay,
can resend it if you want me to, so it's not lost.
please.
And I think the concern that I had with that wasn't so much of not knowing about it, was not told what was gonna be talked about. And I think that's where I lost, where it bothered me, that I didn't know the things that was on the agenda was not presented to me as being talked about on the
First
agenda.
special call me the first, okay.
Did you want to talk about I guess part of the concern was to, and you addressed that, is these other items as needed
Mhm.
on an agenda. That, I believe in that meeting was misused. And I don't know if this board, I mean, it's the chair's prerogative to say what's on the agenda. But I don't know if it would be proper for the board to give some guidance on how we feel about that being added on a special call meeting agenda. I
Well-
think the School of Government has a thing on that.
Well, I would agree that, and that's why I was just pulling up, the statute says that unless a majority of the board, unless all of the board members are there,
Yeah.
only those items of business specified in the notice may be transacted at a special called meeting. And based upon that, anything that was not specified on the agenda, my recollection being it was those appointments were the only things not specified that were any action was purportedly taken, and so therefore you can't take it, and that's void.
There are some counties that choose not to put that on those agendas because it creates that perception. Am I
I
correct?
think going forward, whatever's on the agenda is what we need to do. That's-
And I believe that's what we're saying.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. Whatever's on the agenda is what we're gonna deal with.
Mhm.
Should be dealt with.
So the next item, and I don't want to move on unless you guys have anything else to add. The next item is the process for appointing a replacement for what we're calling District 3, the Alston seat. I included underneath of this, the statute as it's written. I also revised and eliminated a lot of the sections that don't apply from the statute so that you can hopefully interpret and translate and see exactly what it is. But at the end of the day, we have 60 days from the 1st of January to name a replacement. If that replacement is not named within 60 days, the clerk is to notify the clerk of court, and the clerk of court is to appoint somebody within 10 days. After this evening, our intent is to send that request formally to the Democrat Party because that is the party which Commissioner Alston was a member of when he resigned. And so we are going to ask for them to provide us with their input. Over the weekend, I added and updated an application, which I very much want your feedback on, and because this is information you guys want and need. Um, uh, as you're going to debate and consider and discuss. But I believe that we should ask for feedback from the Democrat Party probably by the middle to latter part of this month, and more than likely have a called meeting sometime in February for you all to discuss. Preferably towards the beginning of February, I would think, in case we need to have a second meeting or need to get additional information, because we've got to get this done before March the 1st is our general deadline.
Okay. So these applications would be submitted to Kelly. She would then forward them to the Democrat Party.
No, sir. No, sir.
No?
The Democrat Party has the opportunity to put their input in. They have no control over what this board does. This board, the statute says, must consider their input if it is provided before the board appoints. So while this board accepts applications, we will seek their input and seek their names, whether it be 1, 2, or 3, however many nominations, but they'll give us their nominations. And in addition to that, this board has the right to receive any other applications that you all want to and consider them in whatever manner you guys want to.
So they don't necessarily have to use this form. Their recommendations can come.
We can request that they use this form only so that we have all of the same information on all of the potential candidates, would be my recommendation.
Thank you. Do we need to take any action on that?
We'll just look on-
I would just say, if you guys have any inputs on this, get them to us sooner rather than later, because we're going to be rolling this out within, I would say, either this week or within the next week.
I'm just saying it needs to go out as soon as possible.
And I would suggest we make sure that we send them out to as many individuals that's gonna put the information out to the public as we can, newspaper, radio, because some people know about it, and I don't want it, people coming complaining that they didn't know about it. So I want to make sure as many people as possible, especially in that district, know about that particular vacancy and that they have the individual right to apply if they so choose.
Would they have guidelines to go by of who can apply? I know it's a Democratic Party, but there's any other information that will be included.
They have to be a resident of District 3.
This is,
Those are the only two requirements that statutorily they have to meet.
okay.
So, I guess I have a question about, people have rumors that people are changing their
Yeah.
parties so that they can.
That's, I
be,
guess, what I'm trying to get to.
Considered, so what is the?
So I looked at that, and I looked at that from a little bit different perspective. If the resigning commissioner had changed political parties before resignation, the statute just says that the election has to have been a partisan election and that the replacement is a member of the party for which the retiring or resigning commissioner resigned from. So I think that no matter what, he was a Democrat when he resigned, and so it must be a Democrat when they are appointed.
So someone just can't go,
Change
the day before.
I believe they can.
Of course,
I believe they can legally.
There's no time limit, I guess.
Well, that's
they have
correct.
to be part of that party.
There is not a vesting time period to be able to qualify for that member of that party.
Okay, I just want to clarify.
All right, so that's all for the county attorney report. So now our consent agenda item. What's your pleasure?
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion have it. Miscellaneous, Kelly, Ms. Grissom.
Yes, we have appointments for the month. The Farmers Market Advisory Committee, reappoint Larry Davis, and an application was received from Deb Curtis to fill a vacant position. The Carter Regional Aging Advisory Committee, reappoint Sandra Tubbs. Downtown Development Commission, reappoint Yolanda Feemster. And the Watershed Advisory Committee, reappoint Lisa Furlow, Edward Spain, and Phyllis Stainback.
Okay, do we have to do the
I move we approve all of those as listed.
I have a question. On the downtown development, Archie Taylor was, a member of that board. And I see his term is gonna expire on it expires January 2025. So would that be on next month's agenda or?
Yes,
Okay.
2025.
Okay.
Cause they got me.
Yes, we'll bring that back in January,
Between next year, but we just voted for me. But Archie's the one that asked.
February.
January 1st?
Actually, I've got that based on what's written. It's Archie, whose appointment ends
Is it
tonight
January?
in January. What this says,
When did hers end?
this says that Archie's appointment expired 1/2/2025, and that Yolanda's expired 1/2026. So what we should be doing tonight is reappointing Archie's position.
Yes, yes.
So not you.
Development.
Downtown
I
development.
wanna be on downtown development.
I wouldn't mind doing
You want to do
You
it?
do?
You see.
So we need, to-
So that gotta be done separate.
yeah, let's just take that one separately since it's not listed on the agenda.
Yes.
I'll move that we appoint Leo Kelly to the Downtown Development Commission. And then you'll be up next year. You're still on it.
So we got a motion to appoint Leo Kelly to the Downtown Development Commission.
I second.
Second.
To reconsider mine because mine is not wasn't up.
Any discussion? You're not up to next year.
it. Time the next.
I'm saying it's a 3-year term though. So if we accept tonight, then I.
No, we're not gonna do yours.
You're not doing yours.
We've already voted on it.
We didn't vote.
We didn't vote.
We didn't have a vote. I made the motion and then
Mhm.
I didn't even get a second.
Okay.
So
She,
what I
she
did was
said-
make a motion to appoint Leo
Leo, yeah.
to the Downtown Development Condition to replace Archie.
Okay. I
And
second it.
so we got a motion and a second.
Yeah, Valencia's second for Commissioner Leo.
Okay, all right.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion have it.
Now I move we approve the rest of the appointments as listed for the Farmers Market, Cartar Cog, and Watershed Advisory Committee.
You making a motion?
I make a motion to get.
Second.
Second. Now.
Any discussion?
we can have one
Will-
more? Performance market.
Did she want to be on the Farmers Market?
She said she could do it. No,
We need to see,
His name is not,
he's not up. These
He's
are
not-
all
he's
the
not
people.
up,
that
yeah.
we-
Okay.
So we'll get that taken care of.
okay,
See if we're showing listed.
so where we at? Y'all get.
So we just need to vote.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of reappointment for the Farmer Market, Cartar, and the Watershed, Committee? All in favor, aye? Opposed? Motion have it. So now, can we get a motion to go into closed session?
Make a motion that we go into closed session.
For what, personnel matter?
Personnel matter.
Second.
All in favor?
Thanks.
Opposed? Motion have it. Go in closed session. But are we just getting this?